So obviously, anybody running this on their system is going to be able to use that / IPFS, or and or IPNS as an entry point into the IPFS system. So it's not trying to say that, oh, you can only get through using ipfs.io, otherwise you can't do it. No, that then would be centralization, and it would be instant hypocrisy. And no, they're not saying that that's the way it worked. So I just want to clarify that. Some people might be a little confused on that. Like, wait a minute, if it's decentralized, why do we have to go through gateway.ipfs.io? Well, you don't have to go through gateway.ipfs.io. They simply set up an example that, can be used just as an example. You can do the same thing. If you have a domain name called theelitesuckadick.io, you could have gateway.theelitesuckadick.io, and then people could take this example and do the exact same they're talking about through your domain instead of this one. Moving on. Next, you might be asking, well, what if I want to change my website? DNS is slow. Well, let me tell you about this little thing called LPNS. Note the N. LPNS is the Interplanetary Naming System. You might have noticed the above link has IPNS instead of IPFS. LPNS is used for mutable content in the IPFS network. It's relatively easy to use and will allow you to change your website without updating the DNS record every time. So how do you use it? And then, it just goes into detail on that. And basically, what this is essentially saying is that the IPFS network and the regular internet network, they're kind of inversions of each other, the way they access each other, to whereas your .domain, the regular internet network, from the perspective of looking at it through the IPFS network, is a subdirectory off of IPNS, IPFS, etc. / your .domain. The inversion of that is that when you're having a website access the IPFS network, then it's gateway.their.domain.whatever / etc., and going through it that way. And of course, whatever applications are being used to cross those bridges. So you're seeing how it's kind of bookendy there. Like, are you understanding this, Richard?
Yeah, partially, kind of.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's still, when you were explaining it to me last night, it's no real easy way when you get into the technical.
Yeah, but you kind of see how it's bookends to where, like, your .domain, in the IPFS network, where all that shit is stored in the IPFS network, that is basically a subdirectory in the IPFS network. Whereas on the regular internet, your .domain is, is the root. It's the top. It's not a subdirectory. It's the top frickin' thing. So you see how it's kind of bookends. Looking at it from the regular internet perspective, the IPFS stuff is the subdirectory stuff. But then when you look at it, from the other side of the looking glass, you look at it from the IPFS side of things, the top level internet domains are the bottom, subdirectory levels. So that's kind of the way they crisscross. It's like the Alice in Wonderland looking glass mirror.
Mm-hmm.
So you're understanding that, right? The basic gist of that. You see how it's kind of like the Alice in Wonderland looking glass mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's how one communicates with the other. So now I'd imagine that as this technology advances more, and there's more like end user client software stuff, browser plugins, whatever, that can communicate directly with the IPFS network, and they don't need to initially start at the regular top level internet domain level of things to then make requests into the IPFS network to pull data once like browser plugins and whatever allow you to kind of, go direct instead of needing to do that, then obviously even more bandwidth is going to be saved and, shit's going to get, even more faster. So, one of the many sites so far that is using IPFS, it's a little thing called Steemit, and all of the entries, all of everything for Steemit is saved into the IPFS network as per exactly everything we were just looking at. And on top of it, Steemit has a cryptocurrency called Steem, S-T-E-E-M, or Steem dollars if you want to call it that. And basically, just through your internet usage, you essentially build equity on your shit in Steem dollars. And then you can trade out Steem dollars for Bitcoin. And then, of course, Bitcoin is able to be traded out for, other, real world currencies. Now, of course, some people, they say, well, wait a minute. The problem with Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies is, let's say you have a $20,000 Bitcoin and you want to trade that out for US dollars. Well, the time it takes to trade it out, the market fluctuates so wildly that $20,000 might be $10,000 by the time it ends up on the other end. And now you've taken a $10,000 loss. Well, with this sort of a system, it costs you nothing to build up the 20,000 in Bitcoin for this hypothetical scenario, because you did it using Steem cryptocurrency just through your internet activity. So you're not really going to give a shit if it cuts in half. You're really just kind of not going to care. I mean, you'd obviously care if you actually put real money into it. Like if you bought that Bitcoin with USD and then you're trading it out, obviously it's understandable. You worked and you toiled and you busted your ass for that money. And now all of a sudden half of it's gone. You're going to be freaking the fuck out. Of course, that's understandable. But with this, you didn't put all that freaking toil into it. You're just making money off your damn internet usage, period. Just by using social media, all this shit is gaining equity. So there's a lot of different IPFS powered sites, and also as a result Steem powered sites. So I have IPFS and Steemit blockchain, BitChute. Go to BitChute right here. This is not Steem powered. I don't know if it ever will be powered by Steemit. For now, it's kind of, its own thing. But as you can see, I've taken some of the PSEC episodes so far and have uploaded them into the IPFS network. I've also done that with a variety of other IPFS network sites, most of which are actually in the Steem network, such as DTube, which is short for Decentralized Tube. And these do have equity ratings, which is why you can see the equity on each one right there. 0.012, 0.004. So there you go. These have a Steem dollar equity because this is based on that system. So the implications of systems like this is that because equity-based economy is expansive instead of contractive, whereas the current debt-based Ponzi scheme, you're creating money as debt at debt, and it's just, it's insane. It's a game of musical chairs, as it were, economic musical chairs. Whereas in an equity-based system, there is perpetual expansion so that everybody wins. And it's hard for most people because, again, they worship the struggle, they worship the suffering. They've been taught that that's the only real reality, and they worship that belief system as their god, as their golden calf. It's understandably hard for anybody to wrap their minds around an equity-based system, because they're thinking, wait a minute, not everybody can prosper, because if they do, the economy will crash and then everybody will lose. Well, in a debt-based economic system, yes, you're right, but equity-based works differently. And because you can trade the equity-based dollars out for the real world debt-based stuff, that means you can, use that to pay your bills and so on and so forth. So it's not, you're generating the money in such a way that's not from a debt-based system, it's from an equity-based system. And because that's expansive, it doesn't hurt the equity-based system to contribute into the debt-based system and to kind of create that foundation. And what this eventually does, as Buckminster Fuller once said, if you want to get rid of the old, you don't fight it, you make it obsolete. Eventually, you're going to start seeing, more sites and services and what have you that kind of support these various cryptocurrencies and things by default. And then you'll start to see things like Bitcoin stabilize, and the market won't be so all over the place to where it could be 20,000 one second and 10,000 the next second, and all that tomfuckery. And one site that has already done this is called PeerHub. It's basically like Etsy, eBay, all of those sorts of things combined, and it says Steam accepted here. So obviously this will take, regular fiat currency as well through PayPal and so on and so forth, but it's also accepting the equity-based cryptocurrency. Also, for people wanting to raise issues about BitTorrent, another thing to also understand about BitTorrent is that BitTorrent, or excuse me, not BitTorrent, Bitcoin, my bad. I'm getting slightly dyslexic with the BitTorrent, Bitcoin, going back and forth. It's getting late. It's almost 1 a.m. Anyway, so with Bitcoin, even though the technology is awesome, it's still largely rooted into the debt-based system, not the equity-based system. So hence you're going to see wild, insane fucking economic tomfuckery with it. That's understandable. Equity-based is obviously way the hell more stable. So anyway, yeah, I think that even though there's a lot of other detail that we could go into with equity-based system, I think we should probably end that section off here, because that would be like way, way, way more to go into. And the main thing that I just wanted to go into on this live stream is simply the idea that the solution is decentralization. That's how to bring about real, actual net neutrality, and the details as to how and why, and to not be like, oh, decentralization because I said so, because unicorns, but to do my best to, to provide the data and try to give people, some actual technical insight as to, why all of this is the case, and to not be giving people because I said so, because unicorns, and if you don't agree with me, shut up sort of answers. So this is just kind of to help inform people as best I can. We could go into all the other details and all the other implications and other hangouts and stuff. I just wanted to hopefully make the point of what's so mind-fuckingly awesome about decentralization, and to show that we don't need a bunch of terrorists called Congress casting fucking votes in their little ISIS session chambers, that the world can be changed with this, completely absent any political anything. Your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the decentralized system is really the future of our society. We have to stop relying on the powers that be for our subsistence. We have to stop relying on the powers that be to enact change across our planet. If we want change, we have to start stepping into our own personal sovereignty and coming back around to the whole case of net neutrality, and the real reason I laugh at people when they get all butthurt over the quote unquote disbanding of something that was never really put into place. It's like, it just goes to show how Stockholm syndromed people are. People think that some fantasy filled law is going to prevent corporations from doing what corporations did before net neutrality, during net neutrality, and after net neutrality. It's like Obamacare. Everybody's all butthurt that Obamacare got pretty much defunded and derailed, when people refuse to see and realize that our healthcare system was no better before Obamacare, was no better because of Obamacare, and if not made worse by Obamacare, and still as a result is nothing, because we're relying on the same problem that created the problem, which is that of the government babysitter, the powers that be. You can't do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. That's Einstein's definition of an insanity. And
hey, Richard, you know what Obamacare did for me? I have to wait 2 months to be able to go see a doctor, whereas before I could just go see a doctor. It's like fucking doctor's office bread lines that are 2 months long. Zig fucking Heil.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's pathetic. You can't rely on institutionalized government bureaucracies to solve the world's problems. You have to take initiative. You have to stand up for yourself, and that's what these projects do. It inspires people to get off their ass, to work on the next breakthrough in technology, and to cooperate, because it's only going to be through those means that the future of humanity is determined. The founding fathers didn't go to Britain. Mind you, they tried to do the diplomatic route, but they utterly failed.
By the way, I should probably
hold on. I'm not done. Mind you, the founding fathers went to the Kingdom of Great Britain and tried to negotiate with the king, utterly failing as a result. They ultimately realized that the only way they were going to win a revolution was to not rely on Great Britain, but to forge their own destiny and start their own alliances and be self-made men. That's what we've got to do, and that's the lesson throughout history. You cannot rely on nanny sitters to do your job. You have to stand up. You have to take initiative. That's the only way you can pass on the virtues of liberty and liberty's blessings, is by taking your own initiative. And I'm not saying don't accept help when it's offered. I'm not saying do the American thing and pull a patent and pull yourself up by the bootstraps and refuse when people help you. But don't take handouts, don't sit down, and don't become complacent, because that's how you lose liberty. Support each other, be there for each other, build great empires, but don't become complacent, and don't lose sight of how you got where you are, and don't lose sight of that when you're passing that knowledge on to other people.
Like if you need to be on welfare, then fine, but also learn how to grow your own food in the process, and grow your own food while you're on welfare, and use decentralized internet technology, and build your Steemit dollars and whatever else, instead of just sitting on welfare going, well, I'm not going to do anything because this is the only real reality and I'm an entitled little brat. Gimme, me, my. But yeah, the question that I know people are going to ask is, because this is just a common mentality. Well, Dave, Rich, all this technology is really cool and great and all, but how are you going to convince everybody to switch over? People have all their different paradigms. How are you going to convince them? Easy. Convincing isn't needed. That's like asking, how are we going to discover the marital status of the number 5? Who needed to be convinced to embrace the internet before the internet was here? It's one of those things that just automatically becomes a trend because enough people are pushing it through forward momentum. You've got one group of people using it. Everybody directly on the outskirts of that group goes, hey, that's pretty cool. I want to know about that. I want to use that. So then they use it. So then that bubble widens a little more. Then the people on the outskirts hear, oh, wow, that's really cool. Can I use that too? Sure. So then it widens. Oh, that's really cool. Can I use that too? Sure. So then it widens. It's like asking, how does a video go viral on the internet? Well, as we know, no one controls what videos are going to go viral on the internet. It's just a matter of if enough people are passing a video around, it does. And if enough people are not, it does not. It's that simple. There's no convincing required. So that's how decentralized technology is going to take over. Just like nobody convinced me to use these other technologies. I bumped into them. I bumped into DTube and BitChute and all of that. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty fucking cool. Actually, while we were all using frickin', TSU and all of that, I had vaguely, loosely heard of Steemit. I didn't really know much about it, and I started hearing a little more like, oh yeah, this could be a good TSU substitute, but I didn't know that much about it. And then since then, it's like I was watching this one video that Liz Reptile and Zephanorian were doing in combination with stuff with Magog, and then I made my own thing with it, the Forsaken YouTubers video, to where they were talking like, they were kind of being half sarcastic, like, yeah, do this, this, and this, and then it'll increase your productivity for BitChute because fuck YouTube, and I'm like, BitChute, what's this BitChute thing, So I started getting interested in that. I'm like, wow. And then after BitChute, I start seeing, wait, there's DTube and there's DCloud and there's all these other decentralized IPFS services, and I started checking into those, and it's like, holy shit, this stuff is fucking cool. So then after that, I found ipfs.io, and I started reading into that, and it's just like, wow, so nobody convinced me to use these technologies. They were simply out there. I bumped into an aspect of it, which piqued my interest a little, bumped into another aspect of it, which piqued it a little more. And eventually it snowballed into this video that you're watching right now. So nobody convinced me of shit. So nobody's going to need to convince anybody else to use IPFS or this decentralization technology. Just the fact that it's really fucking cool, and more developers are making more and more cool shit that works with it, and people happen to really like cool shit. They don't have to understand how the car works under the hood. They don't have to understand how to disassemble and rebuild an engine. They just know that a cool car is a cool car, and they know they want it because it's cool. Mm-hmm. So no convincing required. So if the powers who assume they be are not afraid of this technology, they should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything more to say on this topic, or do you think we've basically explained exactly how and why net neutrality never existed, and exactly how we are going to be creating real, actual net neutrality, no politics or bureaucracies required?
I think it's pretty much explained.
Yeah, we can go into the details of all the different aspects of this technology some other time. Mm-hmm. That does not need to be gone into now. So alrighty, I guess everybody watching this, if you like it, share, subscribe.
I guess I had talking about my piece here.
Yeah. By the way, just for fun, you got to do this because you actually have a real gun. You got to like point it at the camera and be like, "Subscribe, motherfucker!"
Yeah, what the hell? For the subscribers, subscribe, or it's the barrel.
Subscribe, motherfucker.
Don't worry, it is not loaded. So, yeah. Subscribe.
Yeah. So, you know, and of course we're on DailyMotion and YouTube and BitChute and DTube, and just look in the descriptions of our videos. I do my best to put all the cross links to everything, DeviantArt, etc. So yeah, subscribe to PSEC on any of those services, everywhere that you'd like to. We do our best to put it up everywhere we can. So there you go.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to add to this, or do we basically have it all covered?
Well, pretty much have it all covered. All I can say is, you know, you're responsible for your own protection.
Always wear protection.
Wear protection, carry protection. Yeah, I mean, it's just paramount, you know, that people look out for themselves, take care of themselves, not rely on, you know, anybody but themselves and, you know, people that they're close to, and vice versa. But
work
cooperatively with others and vice versa. But you
not
can't.
Dysfunctional codependency bullshit, but sovereign cooperation, like mature adults, not like trying to have a bunch of kindergartners rebuild the World Trade Center. Don't do that. Yep. So I guess Shadowlay, Praise Cack, peace out wherever you are in the world. Hope you have a nice, you know, day, night, whatever it is for you guys. I obviously have a phone call to go make if Kristen is still awake. So
yeah, she sent me a text. She sent me a thing on Facebook saying, you know, I hope Dave hurries.
Okay. Well, I told Kristen to watch this live stream, so hopefully she is. So hopefully she knows that I'm about to call her, and Richard's going to be on the line with me. So hope that's okay. I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Well,
so
yeah, she's sending me texts, so I mean, you know, it must be all right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then she must be watching if she's responding to you in text. So we're going to get the hell.
Well, she's not responding to me currently.
Oh,
but, you know, still.
All right. Well, we're going to go do that. Hope everybody has enjoyed this episode. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section and whatever. And we will have more videos about this in the near future. So catch everybody later. Subscribe, motherfucker. And
subscribe.
Peace out.